True Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Build a movement, baby. True Underdog.
True Underdog here. Unleash the power within. Host Jayson Waller. Got my co-host John LeBlanc. Today's episode is going to involve Joe Caban. We had him on earlier this week with an episode shared amongst him and Kevin Klink. He's a good friend of mine. He's overcome adversity. He is the definition of a true underdog. We want to make sure that the listeners and the viewers out there get a taste of what's going on through his life, what he's had to overcome, who he is now, and how he lives his life and how he's inspired, and he didn't let that hold him down. Joe Caban, how you doing, baby?
Good, buddy. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, why don't you give yourself a 60-second commercial, explain to the listeners and the viewers who you are.
60 seconds. All right. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Single mom, middle child of 5. I grew up in poverty on public assistance my whole life, my whole childhood. Moved to North Carolina here in 2009. Met Jason on a video game, which we'll get into a little bit later. Moved in here to work with him, changed my life. Fortunate enough now to be able to provide a life that I couldn't have as a child to my family now. So I'm very grateful.
So let's jump right in. So you mentioned early on, well, let's talk about this. Right now, you've been an integral part of not 1, not 2, but 3 businesses that I've ran. You've been my right-hand man. We've been best friends. We've been through a lot. And the Joe that I know, right, I don't know a lot of your history. You've been a vault. And John, so you understand too, Joe really never talks about his past. He never really, he never complains, but he's like a vault. He doesn't share. Even if Joe's having problems at home today, something's going on, maybe an argument with the wife or things are tough, he's not the type to talk about it. So to get Joe on this show, I want the listeners, the viewers, and even you, John, to understand that this is unique. This is a guy who's locked the doors and never really talks about things. And I don't know if it's because he sweeps it under the rug or is he overcoming and dealing with it. He's one of the funniest, most inspiring, nice people I've ever met. I mean, when he walks into a room, he lights it up with comedy. He's hilarious. I mean, I always consider him kind of like the someone that would be a mascot on a team that's just, having fun and making people light up and laugh and enjoying people's company and kids and entertaining all the time. Would you agree, John?
I agree, Joe. The first time I met you, the first time I actually got to connect with you was at a dinner, and I sat across from you from the dinner table, and I remember that night. And I wouldn't think otherwise, but you were. I mean, you had me crying. I was laughing so hard, and you had me crying. You were making fun of me. I mean, I was laughing so hard. You had my wife laughing, and look, I would think of you as just a funny, just motivational, fun dude to be around. But you've got quite the childhood story, and I know Jason wanted to bring you on because really he doesn't know much of that, and I think our listeners would actually quite enjoy hearing where you came from to where you're at now, and I hope we can get into some of that. So if you want to kind of give us an idea of what your childhood was. You said you were born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and maybe start there.
Born and raised Brooklyn, New York, 1982. And Brooklyn back then, 1982, was not the Brooklyn it is now. It's bad. There are drugs. Every corner there's drug dealers. Shootings and everywhere. And just starting off, just before the age of 1, my dad was arrested for murder. So I didn't know my father from. I'm not going to remember him when I was 1 year old. So I didn't really meet him again until maybe I was in the 6th grade or something like that. Maybe 12 years old, 11 years old, something like that. So I grew the first 12 years of my life without a father figure. I mean, I still don't have a father figure now.
Did you know as a child, before you were 12, that he went to jail for murder? I mean,
so you get the story that your father's in school when you start asking the questions when you're like 3, 4 years old. And back then you don't know any better. And you get never was a naive child. So after I got a little older, I'm like, yeah, that motherfucker's in jail. Okay, you got to put 2 and 2 together. Like, he's not in school. What school are you going to be gone for 6 years? So So yeah, they kind of brushed it under the rug, told me he was in school. So at a certain point in my life, at a certain age, I just stopped asking. And growing up with other friends with dads, it's only natural that you say, where's my dad? And
Right.
kind of just stop even thinking about it and asking that until he actually got
What
out of
what
prison.
what was that like for you at school? Going to school and you seeing other kids with dads and you didn't have one there. What was that like?
It's tough, not having a dad to help, teach you how to throw a football, teach you how to, play sports, or teach you the things that a man will teach his child. Just growing up, I had to get that from my older brother, Lewis, Macho as we call him, and my mom, of course. She's a very strong woman to raise 5 kids on her own. She did her best, but a lot of life lessons I had to learn from her, or had to learn the hard way, just on my own.
Man, so you're in school at this point. You're moving through. Your dad, at 1 year old, went to prison. You're going through childhood. What was your childhood like?
The childhood's rough. My earliest childhood memories is counting pennies. Put them into the roll for $1 and going to the supermarket to buy eggs, milk, and bread. Just substantial items to eat, just to get by a meal. I remember you're not having anything to eat, having to eat pancakes with no syrup for dinner, just a piece of pancake. And those are times where I never forget that. And I always remember where I came from, and that's why I have such a happy outlook on life, because it can't get any worse than what I've already experienced. So when you see me always smiling, like Jason said, regardless of what's going on, I'm still going to be the same person. My job in life is, if I can make one person smile a day, I've done my part. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, your mom's feeding 5 kids, right?
And public assistance. Yep.
All right, so you guys are going through your childhood. What are your brothers and sisters like?
So I got two other brothers and 2 other sisters, 3 of which have been shot at some point in their life. Starting with my older brother was shot when we moved to Queens, and he was going back and forth to Brooklyn. He got shot when he was 14, and he's now paralyzed from his neck down. Only has movement in one of his arms. So I'm not going to get too deep into his story, but to learn more about his story, he did write a book, The Bullet That Saved My Life, just to plug that in. He gets really in depth of his childhood and what his experience.
Tell everyone the book called again. Tell the viewers and listeners. And let me just real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you, Joe. We all are all on COVID-19, stay at home quarantine. So our quality here, we apologize ahead of time. We're not at the studio. We're all dialed into a phone and internet. Kind of the same struggles everybody's going through. So we're delivering the best that we can. Now, Joe, go ahead and mention what the book's name again is for your brother.
The Bullet That Saved My Life. You can find it on Amazon, or he has his own website, thebulletthatsavedmylife.com. So check that out. But he has a very interesting story. He started selling drugs when he was 9 years old. So a 9-year-old standing on the street corner selling drugs.
And was he helping your mom out with the money
to help provide, to food for the house and whatever he can do? He kind of had to grow up without a father figure. Had to grow up a lot faster than most kids had to. We all had.
I can't imagine that. I've got a 9-year-old. I mean, I struggled to let him rollerblade outside. He scratched his knee yesterday, right? I can't even imagine what that's like for him.
Yeah, just talking to him about it now. We don't like to dig too deep into the past based on what he's been through, but just talking to him and just reminiscing about that stuff. I mean, it was scary. It's scary. You're dealing with grown men in their 30s and 40s, and having to deal with people like that, scary individuals. If you mess up and you don't have the money to pay them back, you can lose your life. So it was a scary time for him and a scary time for all of us.
Now you said you had 2 other siblings that were shot as well.
So most recently was my sister was shot. She was the second one shot, but it was more like a drive-by kind of shooting. She was using a payphone back when those actually existed, and there was a drive-by shotgun, and then some shotgun pellets went into her legs. So she had to get all that removed. But then my older brother was a target of gun violence, and someone actually shot him about 7 times in Arizona. So he lost an eye, he lost a movement in his leg. He can now walk regular, but he was in the hospital for a very long time. So he was very fortunate to still keep his life.
He got shot 7 times, and he's still living.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
With a 45 caliber handgun too. And the first bullet he tried to stop with his hand, went through his hand and hit him in his eye. So it's a crazy story, to say the least.
So what are you doing at this point? How old are you?
I'm 37, going on 38 this year. You know, I was
No,
fortunate enough.
that's the point of when like your
Oh, sorry.
brothers.
When that
Yeah.
happened, I was living here. That was probably about 6 years ago.
Oh, that wasn't too far, too long
It
ago.
wasn't too far. I was working at the office. I remember I got the call, and first person I called was Kevin because he was actually in Arizona where it happened. So he kind of like went to the hospital, started like trying to get me some information to let Jayson know, and took some time off of work and flew there. Like me and my mom flew there, instantly. And just to show you what a good person Jayson is, they even paid for our plane tickets to get us up there. So cash was strapped at the time, and they were nice enough to get us plane tickets out there to go be with my family. So I would always be grateful for that.
So as a child, still, let's go back to when you're growing up in Brooklyn, New York. I mean, you're the middle of five, is that right?
Middle five, yes.
Okay, and were your brothers and sisters? Were you guys really close?
So yeah, my brothers, yes. My older sister, not so much. She's a little older, so she's out doing her own thing. Didn't really hang around with the kids. My mom was always out and about, so they were always, my brother was always watching us, my older brothers, and picking us up from school, taking us to school, making sure we ate, stuff like that. So we're really close to my older brother and my younger brother because we're only 10 months apart. So we played the same sports, we played on the same team, so we were fairly close as well. My younger sister's kind of like way after the fact. She's 15 years younger than me probably. So we weren't as close as the other siblings.
So both of your brothers had gotten shot at some point. Wow.
Yeah, I remember that story when Johnny got shot. Johnny is a rapper and he was on BET. And Joe's not one to, like I said, he's a vault. He doesn't talk about his family much, but when his brother was on BET winning the title, they had this weekly battle. And he won like 5 times in a row. He's like, dude, you guys need to check out my brother. We heard him. We were like, dude, he's amazing. He's like really good at rapping. And then shortly thereafter, he went to Arizona. And I guess, one thing led to another. I remember when Joe called me, we were all freaking out. And, his brother got shot 7 times and it was bad. It was a time where Joe, you just got married at the time, right? Not too long after?
Yeah, newly married. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and so new baby.
New baby, yep. It was a busy time for my household, and shout out to my wife, who was always there for me and got my back no matter what. She's like, you need to go. It was at the time when you called the hospital, they wouldn't even give you any information. So it's kind of like you had to think the worst.
And John, what's crazy is when we hear this, this is the first time I'm really getting to hear a lot of this stuff. There's never, the Joe we know, you would never know this.
Never.
You could never tell that he's been, because a lot of people that go through things like this, Joe, it defies who they are. They don't overcome it, and they're bitter, and they're upset, or they're emotional, or they're sad, or they're down, or they blame and they hate. And you are such a free spirit of humor and happiness. It's I can't explain the word. It's just so unique and inspiring to say, this is where you came from, and this is the high, happy spirit you are. Why don't you talk into that? You mentioned a little bit your goals to make people laugh, but let's really let the folks know that. How do you not think about this stuff? How did you overcome this stuff to be who you are? Because when we met, like you've never done a drug in your life. You don't drink, like all these things about you and coming from that lifestyle. Explain that to people.
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot. Just people who've known my background. I've grown up in, especially in public housing. So I was in the projects, growing up in some of the projects, like the worst projects around. I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. I went to school with Lloyd Banks. 50 Cent grew up in that area. So those are areas where it's big on drugs. All my friends sold drugs. All my friends smoked weed. I just didn't want to, after seeing what my brother went through selling drugs as a child and getting shot, and my younger brother who got shot was also selling drugs. It's just one of those things that I never wanted to follow in those footsteps. I just wanted a better path for myself. And the only way to do that is to stay positive. I could easily fall into being one of the statistics. My family sells drugs. My family's got shot. That's the only future I have. I can do that. But I just wanted something better for myself. I stood in the house, I read a lot, I was a really good student in school. I grew up, graduated top of my class in high school. Went to college, got an associate's degree. I just wanted a better life, and if
Did,
I was going to bring,
did you know that I never knew you went to college? Congrats. We've been best friends, and Joe never talks about himself. Joe is not like that, right? And so that's interesting. You went to college. Where'd you go to college at?
I went to a school called Catherine Gibbs. I have an associate's degree in hotel restaurant management, so I do have some kind of degree.
That
But
explains so much that you've always mentioned me, dude. We got to open up a restaurant.
yeah,
That
that's
makes
my
sense
dream.
now.
I want a restaurant. That's my retirement plan. I want to open up a restaurant or a bar or something, or Chubby's.
Oh, yeah, we're not
I got to talk about that.
No, we're not talking about Chubby's today.
But yeah, that's been my ultimate goal, is to open up a restaurant. I've always been, love to cook and love the whole food industry and beverage aspect of everything. So yeah, I had a college education, went to school, and if I was going to bring a family into this world, I did not want them to live like the way I grew up. So that was my goal in life, was to build a better life for them.
Was college in New York for you?
Yes, it was in Manhattan. So I traveled to Manhattan every day.
So at some point, because you don't live in New York anymore, at some point you moved.
Yep, October of 2009. October 1st, actually, was the day I landed here, officially moved here for good.
Where's here?
Yeah, so it's kind of rough living.
He said, "Where's here?" He said,
"Where's here?"
North Carolina.
North Carolina. All right. How'd you decide just to pick up and move your entire childhood from New York to North Carolina?
So I was, kind of in a relationship for like 8 years prior to that. The questions come up before. Jason's been, since he's opened up the alarm business, and we've been talking. He's like, "Hey, come work for me. I got a nice spot for you. You can run my call center." And I always just
let's let the listeners know that we met each other on a video game.
Video
right?
game, yes.
In
04.
And became good friends. I know that's weird. People like a video game. Yep, we became great friends. Joe came down, visited the family. We both were really into fantasy football. We both didn't have a lot of money. We drove to football games with my family and other friends, and we clicked. He became one of my boys, and I was always hounding him, dude. As I worked for a company and did things. Once I went to become an entrepreneur and open my first business, and things started to take off, I kept saying, "Dude, come down to work for me. Come down to work for me." And he kept saying, "No, no, no." He was in this relationship. He was there. When 2009, after I had my business partner Kevin now come work for me, and then live in the basement, Joe decided, you know what? I'll take a leap of faith, and that's when he came down October 1st of 2009.
October 1st of 2009. Yep. Relationship kind of went bad. I was at a dead end job. I was actually making less than when I started. They gave everybody a pay cut. I was traveling to New Jersey every day by public transportation, so taking 2.5 hours each way. I just woke up one day and was like, "I'm going to go to North Carolina. I'm going to take him up on that offer and just take a chance." He was nice enough to help me get on my feet, to let me stay in his house. Shout out to Liz for allowing that as well. That was kind of rough on her, going from Kevin to me back to back. So for like 8-9 months, they had somebody living in their home that wasn't, quote unquote blood. But yeah, I mean, just growing over the years. Love Jason's family. I've got the pleasure to see, him have, Hannah was already born, so it was an additional kids. So 3 kids were born. I wasn't there for the birth, but I was around for when they had them. And then those kids, I love the kids like they're my own. So we've grown really close. So it's been a pleasure seeing them grow up.
And John, so and the listeners and the viewers know that Joe wasn't married at the time, no kids, but he was so fun with the kids. He would play with my daughter Mackenzie and call her Mrs. Fu, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, she had this restaurant playset, and she was Miss Fu. She owned this restaurant, the dirtiest restaurant in Charlotte. Mrs. Fu.
He would go in and shut her down. He's like, "Miss Fu, you didn't clean your stuff," and she's like, "What?" And she didn't understand. She was a couple of years old, and he would be in there playing with the kids like nobody. And I always said, "Joe, you're going to be a great dad, dude. You are so fun and charismatic with kids, and you're just fun to be around." And he's such a comedian, and so he's blessed. He's got 5 kids, and he's a great dad. He's a great person. I'm proud of him. It's like a little brother.
Thank you. I got to stop having kids. 5 is the limit. That's it. No,
hey, they got medicine for that stuff, dude. The kids need to relax.
They got medicine and surgery.
You need something. You got to fix that. No more babies, Joe. No more babies.
Surgery is high on my list right now.
Eventually, you're going to have to drive a damn bus to go out to eat. Nobody wants to drive a bus.
The cars get more and more expensive as you have more and more children.
Oh yeah.
So I can't get bigger than what I have now, except if I go to a yellow bus, short yellow buses.
Hey, I got a question for you, Joe. So when you moved to North Carolina, was that a pretty seamless transition for you?
It wasn't. I had to sell everything I owned. So like TVs, computers, everything I didn't want to bring. So I had to literally sell everything I owned and just bring clothes. So it took a while to get that all done. And at the
How'd
time,
you
I was actually
adapt?
I adapted actually pretty well. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue at all. Once I got down there, I kind of made myself at home. Jason knows that. You know, wasn't like I was uncomfortable. I'd go in the fridge, make myself something to eat. It wasn't like I was scared to do stuff.
Hey, the grocery bill went up a little bit. I will say that.
It did go up. It did go up a little bit. It did go up
Hey,
a little bit.
but here was the worst part. I kept telling Joe, like, dude, I'm sick of driving your ass to work. You're going to have to get a license. Man, I don't know how to drive a car. We're going to teach you. So my wife would take him out and work with him and kind of work with him driving. And then he went and took the test and passed and got his license. How old were you when you got your driver's license?
That was 2010. So that was 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, 27?
27, yeah.
So Joe gets a license at 27, but it's like he's 15 or 16 driving. I was like, I ain't riding with your ass, dude. Like, you're a brand new driver. You scare me, man.
Are you still a horrible driver?
Now.
Are you? You got 5 kids, man.
I'm a very safe driver. I drive the speed limit. You know, I'm very defensive when I drive. I don't take any chances. So. But yeah, I'm a good driver. Don't listen.
So where'd you start out with Jayson in business? What were you doing?
So I went to go open up his call center, did some telemarketing, and I think I touched on the story on our previous podcast last week. He kind of was trying to hook the equipment up back when there's phone lines involved. And he was kind of like, I was like, "Yo, can you help me?" He was like, "Yeah, you could figure it out." So for 2 days, I'm in there playing with phone cords until we finally got it going. And then once we got it going, it kind of started rolling. It was kind of like it instantly started working.
So you knew Jayson as a gaming friend at this point. You know, now you're working with him, for him. Is Jayson Waller at work different than Jayson Waller behind a video game?
He's the same person, 100% same person all the time. It's funny because back then we were at the office 8:39 in the morning until after 9 o'clock at night. So it was a grind. Even though my work was over, I had to get a ride. So I'm sitting there.
So you had to wait for him.
He's like, I'm ready to go. I'm like, we're not done. We're not done.
We're there sometimes at midnight, 1 in the morning at the office, and we'll finally come home and do it all again in the morning. So just kudos to him. And the grind. He always talks about the grind when you first start off. You start at levels. Level 1, working 12 to 15-hour days, going home, getting a few hours of sleep, and coming back and doing the same thing.
Yeah, anybody that's trying to build something, I mean, you've got to put in the time. It's not going to come easy. I tell my kids this. I tell everybody life's not an elevator. You're going to have to earn it. You're right. We used to put in 60, 80, 90 hours a week to build the business and continue. We get home 1, 2 in the morning sometimes and be back there at 8:30. It was wild, but that's how the days were.
We'll be at a Jack in the Box drive-thru at 1 in the morning.
Getting tacos, baby.
Getting tacos. Because we haven't eaten all day. But yeah, that's
by the way,
the grind.
John used to be a trainer. His ass ain't eating tacos at 1 in the morning. He doesn't even know what that's like.
He didn't even eat tacos, period.
No.
Unless they have made wrapped in quinoa.
That's right. Yeah, that's what you were making fun of me about at the Christmas party. Yeah. Everyone roaring, making fun of all my healthy habits.
I love you, man, but you're the whitest person I know, man. I'm telling you. You're so vanilla, bro.
I don't have that Puerto Rican in me like you do, or you thought you did.
I thought I did. I do, but not as much as I thought. And I'm probably like less than 20% Puerto Rican. I thought I was
show everybody the tattoo. So Joe used to be like, look, man, I'm Puerto Rican. That's a Puerto Rican flag, right? Ever since I met him, man, I'm Puerto Rican. And then eventually technology comes out and they got 23 in me. And he gets it done. He calls me, how much Puerto Rican are you?
Less than 20%.
He's like, man, I'm like 18%. I start rolling. Like, dude, come on, man. I said, that explains the shorts and the sandals, dude. Come on, dude. You
I'm like 50% European, Southern European. So,
hey, if it makes you feel any better, I got a tattoo with a tomahawk, right? And my mom used to tell me all the time, my grandpa was full-blooded Cherokee Indian. he was, Blackfoot Cherokee Indian on North Carolina mountains, whatever. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. And so, then her mom had dark hair, and then my mom. And so we always thought we were part of American Indian. So I got my tattoo done, 15, 20 years ago. And I've got a German helmet. I've got a Irish 4-leaf clover, and I've got a tomahawk, right? Because I thought it was German/English and Irish and American Indian. And I did the 23andMe and found out I've got 0 American Indian. So I called my mom and said, man, you lied. She's like, nope. So she gets tested. Guess how much American Indian she has? 0. And I said, look, I got a tattoo for nothing. Joe's got a tattoo. He's got some at least, but he needs to go ahead and get about 30 other different flags and go around to equal it out. Joe, you're muted, baby. Joe, you're muted.
He was so proud of that tattoo when he got it. So proud. He was showing me on video, like, hey, check it out. Look at this. Look at that. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty cool. Kind of find out he's got some other person's heritage on his own.
Thinking of tattoos, I have my son and my youngest daughter always give me a hard time because I got a tattoo on my back. Me and my wife got similar tattoos where we have a sun and then we have the zodiac signs. And I don't even believe in zodiac stuff, but I thought it was cool at the time. It was like, 15, 16 years ago. And so I have mine, my wife's, my oldest daughter, and then my second daughter. Because that's all I had was 2 kids. And since then I've had 2 kids. So the younger kids are always like, Dad, when are you getting ours? When are you going to put that on? I'm like, I ain't getting no more tattoos. Well, you either need to get that taken off or add us on there. So I'm having to deal with that. I think I'm getting tattoos here in the near future again. I think that's in the cards.
You're going to have to.
I'm going to. I'm going to.
Joe, so you lived with Jayson for a while. When did you move out? You're married. When did you meet your wife?
I met my wife at the office. Her sister was the first worker for me, and she was like, "Hey, you got to meet my sister." And I was like, "Oh, I don't care." She brought her in, dropped her off one day, and I met her. And at first, her sister didn't even like me. Number one, didn't like me at all. And then, like a month later, she gave me her sister's number. She's like, "No, text her." So I just texted her, and then that was it. We went out, and that was it. I fell in love, and that was it. After like one date.
And he had to fire her, by the way, because I was like, dude, you can't.
Yeah, I hired her shortly after, and I had to fire her. She could work there.
How'd that conversation go?
It's pretty awkward. But I had to do what I had to do. She understood, and she had no hard feelings, but she's like, that's fine. She can get another job, so it's all good.
You guys moved out. You're at night. What, you guys moved to an apartment, house?
I bought my first house. That was like right in the process when I bought my first townhouse. And that's right when I was in the process. So moved out. She moved in, and the rest is history, man. She had a son from a previous relationship, which loved the kid, just like he was my blood. But then I had 4 other kids, right after that. So.
Was the
they've got a pretty big family, by the way. I mean, like, you go there. I've got 4, and mine are a little older now. And I remember even him. Anybody used to call me like, "Damn, every time I talk to you, Jay, it sounds like chaos." And so I feel bad. He's still got little ones. When I talk to Joe, I'm like, "Damn, dude, I remember those days. That is straight chaos, brother. You got a lot of kids running around. It wears you out. So
he's doing it right now. He's kicking.
Yeah, my kid just came in. I'm kicking him out right now. Hey, go outside, buddy. I forgot to lock the door.
So
I'll be back.
I want you to hold
Okay, we'll go outside.
Bring him on the pod.
No, I have to kick him out. If I bring him on, I can't get him out. I won't be able to get him out. He wants to go play with the holes. That's where we're stuck to now. I go spray the holes on him.
Oh, that's great. Joe, that's a huge transition that you went through your life. You made it sound quite effortless. I mean, what was the hardest part of it? What was the hardest part from your upbringing to now? Because you're right. You went against everything that was probably written about you and where you would end up. You kind of defied all that.
So I think the hardest part of it was the moving around. Moved around a lot, from like homeless shelter to homeless shelter to homeless shelter. I mean, we were in so many different homeless shelters. And I tell the story, like one time I was in a homeless shelter in Chinatown, New York, in Manhattan, is what they call it. And I was like the only non-Asian kid in my class. Everybody else was some kind of Asian origin. I was the only non-Asian.
You gotta have a little Asian in you after that 23 years.
No. I got a lot of other stuff, but no Asian. But it's just weird, moving around, not being able to make any friends really. Until I think I got more stable is when I moved to Queens, Jamaica, Queens, the projects there, and I was there for a long time. And that was kind of like when I was an early teen, so I kind of made some friends, and that's where I stood most of my life before I moved out.
Great. So
Yeah.
now what are you doing? You're obviously with Power Home Solar. Tell
Power
us
Home
where you're
Solar.
at now.
I'm the director of customer relations. I manage all the internal operations after it's sold up until when it's installed.
How many employees? How many employees underneath you report to you? I know it's over 100.
No, it's actually just shy. It's like 80.
Okay,
Like 80.
so 80.
It's around 80. I got I think 4 or 5 departments. 5 departments under me, five managers and 80 employees. So overall, I have a great team. I think we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish, especially around this time with COVID-19. We're still business is still moving. We're fortunate enough that our executive team can keep the doors open, allows our employees and everyone to make a living, to be able to get a paycheck. So everybody's happy, and the focus is to keep getting better every day and keep the business moving. So we're in a good place right now. I'm very happy.
What's the relationship you have with the CEO of the company?
We still have the same relationship we had 20 years ago. It's a little when you mix business and personal, it always there's always some lines, and I think we don't cross those. And when I drop the ball on something, he's gonna let me know I dropped the ball. So it's not like we're friends. He's not gonna get on me. He gets on me.
Would it be fair to say, Joe, for someone like you're one of my best friends, or Kevin, we've got some family, my old man. Am I harder on the people I'm closer to, you think?
You are. I think you are. I think you are, because you expect more from the people you're closer to, which is how it should be. You shouldn't You shouldn't treat us any less than any other employee. Probably should treat us a little bit rougher to make sure we're on top of our game. Because you hear in businesses all the time, you got family and friends that work for you. They don't do shit, or they just do the bare minimum. So I think in your case with the family and friends that you have, we're all at higher positions in the company for a reason, because we care about the business. We
work your butts off. Yeah.
And we work all day, every day for you. So.
Well, I like to say you work all day, every day for our company, right? So, and I say our because we're all a part of it. But yeah, just watching you grow up and you watching me grow up, we've all, think about this, John. We talk about this. It's the layers, it's the steps of getting to be successful. I didn't have any management skills, very little. When I got hired at Verizon, had to manage a few people. I gained more. I opened a business, and I had to look people in the eye that were 30, 40, 50 years old with a college education. I'm a 24-year-old kid with not even a high school education, telling them what they're going to go do to be successful, on the door selling home security, and then I had to grow into roles and build confidence and experience, right? I didn't read any books or take any classes. And then Joe comes in with his whole background, and he's at a job that he's not really growing, and it's a processing type job. And he has to come in and like he said, learn. And you think about over the years how much he's learned from '09 to where he's managing 80 people and 5 managers of a top, Inc. 500 company doing, 200-300 million in revenue a year, 900 plus employees. He's managing a whole leg of that. And it was not given to him. He's the first to tell you. He moved up as we've grown, working all kinds of different positions and busting his ass every single day. I mean, right, Joe?
Yeah, and I think sometimes the perception is I'm his boy, so I kind of got given what I have now. Was given to me, and that was the perception for I think a lot of people looking in. But I came into the solar side just doing inside sales. I was rehashing deals, calling customers,
and we were only like 30 employees deep at that time.
Exactly. I didn't get a lot of training. I got training for like one day, like how to work the system, and then I had to learn how to customize the system over time. To exactly add stuff, take away stuff, and that's stuff I had to dig in and learn, and that's kind of been the motto. Like when something new, a new lender comes on, I'm the one that dives in, figures out how to operate it, roll it out to everybody else. So kind of enjoyed being that person that people can go to when they have a question.
And we've got around 10 directors, I think, in our company, 8 to 10 directors, and and Joe's one of them, manages 80 plus people, and everybody that meets Joe, so everybody understands, he's the funny guy. He does the comedy at our Christmas parties, him and Kenny Boom Boom. And he he's the one that if you're stuck on something, he understands all the processes. He's the wealth of knowledge because he's been there. He was one of our first employees, late 15. That it was at 15 you joined us back. I mean, you helped
I
us. The
joined
other two
16.
Right. So Joe was there in the security company in '09. Then he went and did his own thing for a little bit. Then he joined the other security company with us a little bit from 12 from 12 to 13. No, I'm sorry, from 13 to 15, and then left a little bit, and then came back in 16. And during that time when he came in, I mean, I got to think we were in 16, maybe 60 employees. We're over at 900 something now, but most of them were installers or sales reps. And Joe had to learn the back end part of it. He was an integral part of building our business. In our business, there's almost, I think you guys counted how many steps between a customer filling out a form and install. How many steps was it, Joe?
I can't even tell you off the top of my head. There's a ton of
62, wasn't it?
Huh?
62.
Like 62 or 72 is in my head for some reason.
It was in the 60s,
So,
I think. Yeah.
so think about this. And Joe is one of those few people in the building that understand where each piece is and what has to happen. And, he has earned it, just like he's lived his lifestyle as a kid and found his own way. Nobody was there to guide him to stay out of trouble. Nobody was there to guide him to fall into becoming a statistic, as he mentioned, or just being that excuse. This is where I became because of this. He figured it out. I felt and saw that in Joe, regardless of the relationship. And he mentions it where I'm like, here, just figure it out. And I've empowered him to really figure things out. And he's done a really great job. He is very, very, very smart. And so he's able to figure things out and build upon that. And that's the biggest thing. So when people get to know him and meet him, they're like, damn, that guy gets it. And on our director's calls, John, you're on there. I'm harder on Joe and Bill and Kevin than I am anybody else. And those are the ones that I'm probably closest to. And Kenny, my brother, we've got, besides those four, there's another 12 or 14 people on that call. I'm kind of tough on them, but nowhere near this, because if anyone's friends or family or, things like that or partners, we're going to expect more because they got to eat, breathe, sleep. Everything's all in. This is our company. We're building this together. It can't be just a job or, I'm going to half-ass do it. If you're in, you're 110% in. And I think Joe shows that. And he's loyal, and he's one of those people I can trust. And he's one of those people that has the company's back. He thinks company first and our people first and not himself. And I just think, his upbringing helped mold who he is. It defies him. Not because that held him back, it defies of what he didn't want to fall into. So he fights and learns to be bigger and better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely the case. And that's why I have such a different outlook on life than most people. And that's the way I am because of my upbringing. And I think nowadays people take life way too serious. Everything is always, and no matter what it is, it's an issue. Oh my God, the world's going to end. I think positive. If the world ended today, have you done enough in your life that you can be proud of? That's what I think, and that's what I teach my kids. I can tell my kids, you can be a janitor, as long as you're a good person, you treat people with respect. And I couldn't be any more prouder than you. So it's kind of the lessons I instill on my children as well. It's good.
That's amazing. That's such a good story, Joe. I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming on. And look, we would have never found that information out, never ever, if we had not done this. So I appreciate you coming on, and I'm sure there's a lot of details, a lot of
there's more details I didn't even get to, but yeah, we don't have 3 hours.
right. Maybe a book we got to write, right?
Maybe Jason write it for me, right, Jay?
but I can't write. We can find somebody to write it though. But I can't write. You see my emails, right? I'm like, shit, I forgot spell check. Damn it. Blah, 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 blah. So let's not have me write it. But well, let's let Joe likes to pick on people. He called you the whitest person on the planet, John. Right? So
you pick on me. You're gonna watch me turn red right now.
So Joe, you get a free shot at me, baby. I know you're always picking on me. You used to say I got the multicolored Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that's I was about to bring that up right now. I always used to bust his stuff. He's the only person I know with 2 different color mustaches. It's weird. One half is red, the other is blonde.
And then I got brown and red beard. That's weird.
And now there's gray coming in. So now there's gray coming in. So now there's 3 colors. So yeah, I always used to get on him with that. I love the guy. He's a great sense of humor. I always, every chance I get to bust his, because, I think he needs it. in a way because he's so like driven in the business. I think we all work together. We all need each other, and I think part of my job for Jayson is to keep some laughter in him because he's always so driven, so focused. Sometimes you gotta just step away for a minute and appreciate life and appreciate what you have, and he appreciates everything he has. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it's like he said earlier. It's not. He said this before. It's not what you have. A lot of people think you're successful. I drive a nice car. It's not what you have. It's what you can offer others, and which he gives all of his 900 employees, and he cares about them. It's not like he's putting all the money in his pocket and not putting it back into the business. So, I think
which is great. You bring that up. And I appreciate that, Joe. With this COVID thing, the executives elected to go off payroll till further notice to make sure our employees can be paid. And then we've had several, I think 30 or 40 different managers or employees that have donated a portion to do that. We just, it's unfortunate. We had a case over in Chesterfield, Michigan, but those guys were going to be off. We told them to use their PTO. We had to shut down. And so we had to force an office to shut down. And when we did, they were going to be quarantined for 14 days just to be safe. Our inactive status is, look, you can use your PTO and sick time, but then after that, we'll pay for your benefits. It's unpaid until you come back. And we were able as a company to pay them when we forced the quarantine because of what our employees are doing. So, it's people like you two on this call and all our employees that inspire myself. And I know you guys are inspired as well to make a difference. And everyone's situation is completely different. And so if we can provide that opportunity for those people to still provide, and we can still provide a service for our customers, then we're doing the right thing. And so that's where we feel as an organization. And I think it's what we all on this call feel and that we exuberate out to the employees.
Well said. Exactly.
Very well said.
All right. Well, that's going to be a wrap on today's podcast. We appreciate everyone joining us. You can check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. You can visit my website at trueunderdog.com. Get you all the options. We have a YouTube out. You can watch the video at True Underdog link on YouTube. And then we've also got, I said iHeart, Spotify, and that's it. That's all we've got. So that's a wrap today. True Underdog, unleash the power within. Bam!
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 Bam, bam, bam. True Underdog. Bam, bam. Unleash the power within.